What is going on, Busy Bariatrics? This episode is for anyone who thinks they're too far behind or too late to get results, because today I am sitting down with one of my longest tenured clients, Erica Robinson, a woman who didn't hit the ground running. In fact, it took us a year just to get her consistently within the gym. And you know what? She didn't quit. She had knee replacement surgery. She also started using a GLP. She dropped down to a smaller coaching package just to afford a personal trainer. She kept showing up in the hive, kept asking questions, and kept moving, even when progress was slower than where she wanted. Now, as we're entering year 3, she's lifting, she's confident, and she is on her way to becoming a personal trainer. This is not a story about how she's going to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. This is not an example of how she became an overnight success. This is where we talk about the real hard work of what happens, because when you keep choosing better every single day, you get better. So with that in mind, Erica, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Rob.
Awesome. So I'm so excited for this episode because I feel like I've worked with you for the longest in the best way possible. And I'm so amazed of how many ways you have pivoted, because you are the queen of pivots. So for those who do not know, why did you have bariatric surgery?
Like many others, I was struggling with my weight, and I've been struggling with my weight all my life.
Mhm.
And I finally was just sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. So I'm like, something's got to change. And the more research I was doing, realizing that bariatric surgery was probably the right route for me finally. Because if when I started my journey originally with weight loss and things like that, back way before I knew I had was adamant against bariatric surgery. I didn't want to go under the knife, didn't want to have anything of that. I thought I could do it on my own. And nope, I knew. And then I realized it's okay to have an extra tool or two in your toolbox to move forward. So I had searched one program here locally, didn't get the warm fuzzy feelings from the doctor, and another friend of mine had recommended her program that she was starting, and went up and met them up there and up in Chicagoland area, and have been looked back since.
So you had bariatric surgery. What was the first couple months like after weight loss surgery?
It was still a struggle for me even after surgery. I was struggling with every time I ate or drank, I would have pain in my abdomen area, and the doctor, that I was seeing at the time told me that it was probably I needed to slow down on what I was eating and drinking. Come to find out, it was my gallbladder. Um,
For people who don't know, why would the gallbladder kind of be like the next thing that could go?
it's something with when we do the bariatric surgery, it's always a risk out there that that your gallbladder, if it's not in good shape, it's probably going to end up being a bigger problem for you down the road. I know if I was to probably have had the bypass versus the sleeve, they probably would have taken my gallbladder out, because they would have been actually looking probably a little bit heavier at those types of organs in there. But it was when I had it out, they flat out looked at me. Yeah, it definitely needed to come out. It was yeah, not in good shape when the gallbladder came out. It just stops working. It doesn't want to cooperate and causes a lot of problems and pain.
So to give everyone like a clear vision of this, is Erica pretty much had bariatric surgery, knew she needed to make a change, had immediate complications, and then they realized they had to do another surgery on her in order for her to continue to be successful. So you get
Yeah,
your gallbladder out. Were we working at that point when the
yeah,
gallbladder got removed?
yeah. The gallbladder didn't come out until uh, 2024. So I literally was dealing with issues because I had my knee replacement last year. So in 2024, I had my gallbladder out in April of 2024. So I had two surgeries in a matter of less than 6 months of each other.
So what made you come into, because I want to make sure we keep it in order
Yeah,
so I can have like the
yeah.
clear idea of this. So you had bariatric surgery. Why did you sign up for Busy Bariatrics?
I needed the community and the support, and I needed some direction. My program is good, but their support is all the way in Chicago. So it was, I felt kind of lost on what I needed to do, how I needed to do things. And, they were a very restrictive program, which made no sense. Based off of everything I was seeing, all the restriction works great if you aren't wanting to do the extra moving and, doing the exercise and stuff like that. Whereas I was at that point still trying to do the exercising, wanted to be heavy into the exercising, trying everything I could, and was stuck. And I was a part of, oh, well, the benchies, and had found you through them. And then you came up and you were starting your business. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is where I need to go.
And I still remember, because for those of you who don't know, like, I had done a podcast with OSLP and it dropped. And I think that weekend I had like 4 applications and I was like so brand new at this point. And I know Erica and I have talked about this, but like I'm getting misty thinking about it. I opened my inbox and it was just like bring, 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 bring. And I pretty much told my wife, like, look, I don't know if this is going to work, but I have 3 applications. Can we leave the Poconos early so that we could see if this works? So we left our friend's weekend so we were able to like take these calls, and all 3 signed back to back to back. And 2 of them are still here and I'm so excited. And the third client is doing amazing and thriving after weight loss surgery, which I love. But like with Erica, it was very clear, like, we're going to get started. And she was one of the first clients in Busy Bariatrics. What happened when you joined and why did you realize this was your place?
I just knew I needed the direction. I needed to understand what I wasn't eating, how much, that I wasn't fueling my body properly. Still took me a while to figure that out down the road. Being able to fuel myself, be able to know what I needed to do for movement and gym. And I was very intimidated by the gym, even though I had worked out previously, but I had worked with a personal trainer. So it's like I always had somebody there that knew what they were doing, helping me out. Whereas now, I went back to the personal trainer because it's what's best for me. So, but it really helped me figure out that I needed the community, I needed the support, I needed somebody to be able to help provide some of that guidance.
And I hope I did a good job. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
we're still working here with
Oh
everything.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. You definitely helped provide the guidance, the insight on things, and you had a perspective of you were a bariatric patient yourself. You knew what we were going through. You were you're obviously a few years ahead of me in your journey, but you've been through some of the trials and tribulations and things that we have all gone through.
And it was just so impressive because like one thing that we really established early in Busy Bariatrics was we do not sit in our issues, which meant when issues came up, the idea is like, look, I totally get it. Like, you're going to have life happen. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have setbacks. The trick is, how do we move forward from there? So when you came in, it was pretty relatively soon that the gallbladder had to get removed. And we had to pretty much adjust both nutrition, fitness, and get everything together so that you could recover from it. What was recovery like after the gallbladder, and what were our next steps?
Gallbladder was good. I mean, it was pretty easy to I mean, I limited obviously what type of food I was eating and was able to start reintroducing things that I had actually had to remove from my diet because they were what were causing me additional pain. I know a lot of people struggle with after after having their gallbladder out, they struggle with the green leafy vegetables and some of the other stuff. And it's like I try them, make sure, just like with bariatric patient, as a bariatric patient, you have issues eating certain foods. You just keep trying them on and off just to see, because someday it may work, some days it might not work.
And then revisit how everything was
Hmm.
fixed. And that'll come up later in the story, but we're going to try
Yeah,
to keep it chronological.
yeah.
So we started to get Erica back into the gym, and almost immediately there was knee pain. What was your history with your knees and your work in there?
My knee probably was what probably set me actually on my journey to start losing weight. In 2019, I got the diagnosis of knee replacement. My knee, my right knee was bone on bone, 100%. The doctor's like, I can't do surgery for you yet. You got to lose weight. Okay. Kept trying to lose weight. Did a pity party because I was early 40s when this was told to me. Wasn't ready to hear that. Did a pity party, gained some weight, and been trying to, was trying to get that back off, and ended up with bariatric surgery then at that point, which has helped me. But the knee kept getting worse and worse and worse. Even with losing the weight, it wasn't relieving the pain. So,
There were points where we kind of completely pivoted because the first part was we can't really get through the workout. So then it was like, let's do steps. And then steps were a little bit of an issue. So we said, like, look, we really have to dial in the nutrition. And then on top of that, we adjusted to yoga. How did that go for you? Because you do have a previous history of yoga.
Yoga was fantastic. It was a lot of stress relieving, gentle movements. And in the class that I take, I've done regular yoga classes, but I also did chair yoga. And the chair yoga is, a lot of people kind of chuckle, oh, you're a younger person taking chair yoga. It's meant for older people. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Y'all need to come to a class and try it out. Just like, I always laugh at the bodybuilders that are be like, oh, you take water aerobics. Come get your butt in the pool. I'll show you how hard it is. So I always chuckle at that.
One of the things I've always been proudest of coaching Erica through is she identifies clearly what she cannot do, but then she adjusts what she can do. And that's really been, I think, the big game changer in your journey from working together is focusing on like, okay, if I cannot get a full workout in because of my knee, can I get on the treadmill? No, I can't get on the treadmill. I'm going to go as hard as I can in water aerobics and use yoga to de-stress. And then we kind of adjusted of, okay, then we really need to look at our nutrition. What were some of the changes or developments we made at that point?
We dialed in nutrition heavily. We changed out the macros probably a little bit and brought them down a little bit lower. So that way since I wasn't moving my body as much, I didn't need to fuel it as heavily. So we dialed that in, changing, getting ideas for the different types of protein, trying to get more veggies and, fruits. So I have my fiber and what have you in. So we did a lot more of that sort of options, still allowing me my room for if I wanted something sweet, I could do that as well.
And I think that's the perfect way to look at it as like trying to incorporate some sweets and everything else. And we realized that, like, even with that, we really weren't getting the progress that we both thought you
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize you wanted to make an adjustment?
I think it was after my 1 year anniversary. I went in and I met with the different doctor of the practice because my original doctor was eliminated from the practice. So I actually met with the guy that actually was one of the owners and brought it up and what have you. So he met with me and he gave me some different options. And I met with him and his new nurse practitioners and both of his nurse practitioners he brought in because they were experts with GL1Ps,
And I think
and they gave me the information. I thought about it for a month, and when I came back for the next month appointment, I said, "Let's do this."
what I was most proud of, Erica is probably one of the biggest reasons why I've adjusted my thoughts on GLP-1s because whenever anything new into the weight loss market comes out, I'm skeptical only because it's new until I kind of understand it more of like, well, what does it do? How does it work? How are people marketing it? How are people selling it? So I wasn't really a full fan when it started, but it was also one of like I kind of need to see data, and that's how I make all my decision making
Mhm.
choices. And what started to happen when we incorporated the GLP?
Hunger cues completely changed, even more so than what they did when I had bariatric surgery. The food noise that I was dealing with, constantly thinking about food, that started going away. My ability, it basically helped my restriction actually come back and be more restrictive on me. And the bad news is I did have some pretty severe side effects that I worked with the doctor's office to get through those. The lower doses were harder on me than when I finally got up to the upper doses, but we also took our time moving me from dose to dose. So instead of rapid fire, you're going to go up every month. We spent a couple of months on each dose, so that way I could have my body adjust and only move up when I truly needed to.
And here's where like I've really learned a lot about GLP-1s through Erica because Erica did a phenomenal job. Do you remember when you it wasn't an automatic, hey, I'm doing this, because I think we both had a little bit of like, is this where we're going with that?
Hmm.
And I remember still the one-on-one where you said, I'm thinking of doing a GLP-1. And you may not remember this, but I clearly do. I was like, I am 100% fine if you track all of your nutritional data so that we can get an idea of what your dose needs to be, how we need to adjust based off of it. And you can send the doctor feedback of like, no, here's physically what's happening. Tell me what
Hmm.
works.
Yeah.
Why do you think it was so important to track your data while incorporating a GLP-1?
Well, for one, it's new on the market. You're still trying to figure out how your body reacts to everything. Because just because you think you can eat that carby, wonderful goodness doesn't mean your body will tolerate it, especially on the GL1P. I did have some hard lessons and learned very quickly. Nope, nope, can't do that. Gotta, adjust what I'm doing and really paying attention to making sure I'm doing more of a complex carbohydrate. I do still have my sweets and my stuff, but I'm also a lot further along on the GL1P now compared to what I was. So my body does tolerate it a little bit better now.
I think the most interesting part is Erica and I both are kind of data people. So it really did help us with our communication. Is where some clients we do a lot of emotional work. For other clients, it's data work. But Erica and my is like, I joke, love language of how we work together would be like, here's what I have. And my first answer was always like, let's track the data. And we started to see like a higher carb diet was not working for Erica on a
Mhm.
GLP-1. So we started saying like, okay, we have to get some form of carb in with a non-starchy carb. So we went to more of a leafy green vegetable routine, and that started to help balance things out. And we would fine tweak of like, okay, maybe it's the dosage, so let's keep all of our tracking data clear
Mhm.
and then figure out the dosage. And do you remember when we finally, like, because it did not happen on our first adjustment, we had to adjust, how many times would you say we adjusted
I'd
before we,
say I think 4 or 5 different times.
this is why she's the queen of pivot, people. Like, it took us 5 times of her communicating to me, this still isn't working. I always say, like, look, if you tell me, we'll make the adjustment. So we kind of tweaked it here, and it would be like, well, is this working? I was like, oh, it's only been like a week. Give it like 2 weeks to see
Mhm.
what it does a little bit settled. And we'd slowly start to adjust these things. And what was your weight loss like when we finally dialed in the GLP-1?
It would drop. I would go, I was still not a complete drop. I was always, okay, I'm going to lose a couple pounds here, stay steady, another couple pounds, another couple pounds. And, it was just literally, it was like a little stair step with longer, steps in between and what have you. So, but it's one of those things, once we dialed it in, that really did I noticed the difference of the weight was coming off. And I was starting to feel better. And I was even noticing how my body was feeling in general too. I was getting less side effects and things like that as well. So,
And I think that was always like the most powerful part is we slowly started to get this idea of like we knew almost, we were like painfully aware of what you could have on a GLP-1, what you couldn't have, but it also did make it very, I'm trying to think the best way to put it. Like you eventually learned of like, nope, that's a hard no food, at least for now, or this
mhm.
is a hard no food if we are in weight loss. And Erica could kind of then adjust accordingly to the reasons and seasons of what she wanted to do. But then she kind of got a little bit of a carrot in front of her that made her dial in her nutrition even more. Do you remember what that was?
Wasn't it the fact that the doctor said, yes, we'll do surgery on my
There
knee
was,
and get it replaced?
but there was a caveat. We had to get Erica under 250 pounds.
Hmm.
And this is where coaching can get really tough because we had to shift of like, okay, now we have the fine tuned nutrition aspect of it. And that was a really big part. We've got all the data that Erica believed in. The next thing that we really did was we focused on, okay, here's how we do it. If this is the goal, what do we need to keep compliance on and how much grace can we have in order to drive the results? And week over week over week, Erica just started losing like a pound here, 2 pounds there, like a pound here. And it got her really right to the goal that she wanted. And what was that like during that period of coaching?
It felt good. It was a lot of, obviously communication, making sure I was tracking my data and looking at the data and even evaluating it myself, being like, okay, no, that didn't work. Okay, so let's change something here. Or hey, you gained like a pound here. Okay, so what did I eat? What caused it? Because I could tell by what I ate that something probably had too much salt in it. I didn't drink enough water, things like that. So, and that was the other thing is making sure I was getting all my fluid in. And I was struggling with drinking just plain regular water. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna go back to the flavor packets. And pretty much I do nothing but flavor packets in my water for the most part anymore. So,
And I still remember your first call was like you always were drinking something. And
mhm,
the adjustment of small little things of liquid calories can make a big difference where
mhm.
Erica did not, and she's drinking now, and I'm so proud. And I have no water, which shows she's better than I am doing if you're watching this on YouTube. But what I'm saying for this is it's really, really cool to watch a client know they need to make adjustments. They know this is a big endeavor. And Erica's greatest strength is in her patience of we really only touched one thing at a time, focused on that, and when we completed that task, we then went on to the next one. And we finally got her knee replacement, and there was no one prouder than I think her family outside of me when we hit that date. I was like shoving you into the group chat to share because you had a little bit of hesitation to share everything. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did. And it was probably, I think it was just because of where I was at and the fact of honestly, I was in pain. I was being in pain for 5 years, but that last 6 months was excruciating. Being on pain medication and being a bariatric patient, I had to get special approval from my bariatric team to be on some of the medication I was on. So it's one of those things. It's like I was tired of being on that medication and I'm like, okay, I've got the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. And then I'm like, Rob's going to make me share. I'm going to share. Okay. I'm going to get out here and I'm going to do it. And I know sharing once I, shared my story even out on Instagram about my knee replacement, I had a couple people reach out to me and ask me questions and be like, okay, how did you do what, just to understand what was going on with them. So,
That's really the importance of both sharing your story, but also taking action. And it's why we even encourage our clients today to look, if you're not comfortable sharing in your Facebook group or Instagram, start with us. And we almost coach you of here's what a post should look like.
mhm.
Hey, here's the problem. Here's the solution. Here's how I'm dealing with it. And here's almost what we do to get it done. And
Yeah.
Erica just slowly would chunk away of guys, it may not look like much today, but it will add up. And slowly over time, we got you down below 250. You had the knee
Mhm.
replacement. What was the next big accomplishment we had together?
Getting through PT. My doctor ended up taking me out for a full 12 weeks, which kind of I was like, I only need to be out 8. He's like, nope, I want you out 12. I'm like, okay. But we programmed out my physical therapy exercises so that I could make sure I could track them and and make sure I do held myself accountable for doing them at home as well as when I went into PT. So getting through PT and graduating in PT.
And that really was like the greatest
Mhm.
testament of everything that we had is Erica, we worked with her physical therapists to bring everything back. And this is where it gets like really, really cool. We communicated through Erica and got her physical therapy paperwork, and then we essentially programmed it into our software so that we had the exact program they wanted. And then Erica could go back and be like, look, I can only get X amount of reps on this. I need this much more. Look, I can only get X amount of reps on this. I need
Mhm.
this much more. And then we would go from there. And it was a really awesome spot because you just saw with Erica that it was not from a lack of want or desire. There were clear barriers that had to be removed. Literally, like her gallbladder, things needed to be adjusted, like medications with GLP-1s. We got a knee replaced, and then she attacked her physical therapy like her knee depended on it. And it did because she eventually moved on to the next stage of her journey. What was that, Eric?
Next stage was finding a personal trainer and getting my butt back into the gym. I started out with one personal trainer, it didn't work out. Then my yoga instructor recommended the personal trainer she had been working with. So I met with him and basically talked with him, told him what my goals were, told him that I was, working with an online coach as well. And he was encouraging me to do this as well. And met with him. And then I had basically a trial one-on-one training session with him and it went out well. Went and turned into I now try to go 4 to 5 times a week, sometimes 6 times a week, depending on how I feel on day 6, whether or not he has a class that day. I've, been going strong since then.
And that was definitely the next fun thing for you was
Hmm.
watching you work with both a trainer. I handled the nutrition and we would communicate of like, here's what we see and here's where we go.
Hmm.
This process took roughly how long from bariatric surgery to getting where you're consistently going into the gym?
3 years, over 3 years, I feel like.
So we go over 3 years to give you an idea. How often had you tried diets before? What was the last exercise or weight loss program that you had tried to keep?
I don't even remember what it was. It was a local place that was basically out of my chiropractor's office that was talking about, real food, didn't want you eating hardly anything processed and just kind of going that route. And I was okay with it, but I wasn't in the right mindset yet. I still wasn't ready mentally for what I needed to do. So
What was the big mental hurdle that you had to get over?
honestly, it was probably just me getting in my own way. I was in my own head, just just wasn't there, wasn't ready. Hadn't quite done the whole acceptance of the situation that I was in and where my weight was at. So
Is there a specific point you remember where you decided to either like you were going to attack that problem or at least say, I'm not allowing that to determine my decision?
I don't know if it actually ever got to that point, but it was more of I literally was just tired. I was so tired of not being able to go and, go for a walk and enjoy those walks or, hang out with my friends or go to a concert and stand up for long periods of time or anything of that sort. I really had gotten tired of being tired and
And
hurting.
And with that mindset, I started to see a lot more change in you as far as like before there would kind of be this pattern of like,
Mm,
I would give a solution and Erica would kind of give a bit of the problem of, well, here's why this wouldn't work, or here's why this wouldn't work. And all of a sudden, like, I just remember after a while, we kind of started looking of like, let's not find the problem, the solution, what can actually work in this plan. And that was
mhm,
a really big reframe for
mhm,
you that you
yeah.
still now help other people in our community with. Why is it
Mhm.
looking more at the solution than the problem been so helpful for you?
Because if you look at the problem, all you're going to see is all the problems. If you look at the solution, you're going to be able to visualize that solution and be able to see where it could lead you down the road further. And just being more of a visual person in the sense of with my career, I am a manager. I manage a lot of people. So I have to think big picture. I have to look, I can see problems all I want, but that's not going to fix those problems. I need to look at solutions that we can make things better. So I try to realize that some of that stuff still carries over into my personal life so that I needed to start looking at my personal life the same way.
To give everyone an idea, Erica, because Erica works a very important job, to the fact that they want to fly her across country and just kind of explain what you do without giving too much away. I don't think she's a spy. Could be,
No,
but like,
no. I manage a team for a call center company, a BPO, as they call them. I deal with IT security. So I deal with identity management, user access, things like that.
and
So,
guys, just to give you an idea of how safe and secure she feels with me, is she does pay her credit card through our portal to get everything. So it's the top well deal here. But your company wants you to fly to the Philippines coming up, and I know this is a really big deal for you. Can you explain to the viewers like why that's so important for you to go there?
it's a connection with my employees that are over there because I have an entire team in that location. But I also have worked with people for over 10 years in this organization that's there. So, but it's also a huge milestone for me is it'll be a airplane ride that's not just 5 hours. It's going to be probably closer to 20 to 25 hours, depending on which route we end up going. So, airplane seats, as we all know, is our nemesis. Even if somebody's smaller, it's a nemesis to them. So being on a plane, it's going to be a milestone for that. It's a milestone for being able to walk through the airports because these aren't going to be small airports that I'm walking through.
Even just getting on the plane, I love that. And that's
Hmm.
really been fueling this next stage of workouts, which I love. But I have to tell you, I know it's awesome with all the work that you do with your trainer, Paul. And I love the fact that you have someone in person.
Hmm.
One of my biggest joys of this year was I had worked with Erica for about 2.5 years when we were
Hmm.
able to announce that I was going to host the JBY workouts. Can you kind of give why that was important to you?
So for one, I was going to finally be able to meet you and actually
Yeah.
work out with you in person. It was being able to meet the people that you talk to for years is amazing because it's like, okay, yep, you're just as real as you are online as you are in person.
Which she realized was a problem because I pretty much like everyone, if you're listening to this, like this is not staged. This is kind of what you get with me. And
Mhm.
you really have to make a critical decision of how long can you put up with this, of like, look, I'm gonna kind of guide you, I am gonna kind of vibe with you, but at the same time we're gonna make actions. But then when we finally met in person, it was just such an amazing experience. we
Mhm.
we were at the reception party, and there was about, I want to say, like 8, 9 busy
Mhm.
bariatric clients at the opening reception.
Mhm.
And to be able to spend a weekend where um we would meet together, we would hang out for a
Yeah.
bit, and then we would go our own ways. And then we did a workout the next morning at First Form's gym. What was it like being in First Form's gym and being able to move from someone who like had a bone on bone knee injury?
Oh my God, it was unreal. It was a very surreal environment just to be in that type of state of the art gym, being able to move some of the weight that I was moving even then. Um, and just being able to, because I was that was more early on working with my personal trainer, and he was absolutely stoked. He was stalking my page, waiting for all my videos and my posts and stuff of the gym because he was really excited about it for me too. So
For people who don't understand, First Form's gym, like, this is a testament to OSLP and Kelly and Mel. They had a connection with First Form, and when they told me they had it, I don't think they had the full grasp of what they had. First Form does not open their gym. Like, you cannot go
mhm,
and get a day pass. It is their employee-centered gym that Andy Frisella, one of the top podcasters in the country, just by data, whether you like him or not,
mhm,
if you look at the top of the download charts, he's there, does not open the gym for just anyone. When Kelly and Mel said what they were doing, they really wanted to make sure they had the right vibe and the right people in place. And they actually came to Busy Bariatrics, Kelly and Mel, to run that. And that was a really awesome part of the process,
mhm,
was being able to do that, have probably the best gym I have ever, actually, it's the best gym I've ever been to.
mhm,
That's the level that we were working out in. And I told my clients that exact same story of, you are in the Taj Mahal of
mhm.
gyms. I promise you, and this is no knock to Erica until she takes the stage and runs her own class at someplace better than me, that is going to be the greatest gym she may ever walk into until
Yeah.
that next moment.
Yep, I would agree.
And the best part was, do you remember what you trained while we were in there?
It was all upper body for the most part. I tried to do some legs, but then I tried to get on one of the machines and I'm like, yep, nope, that's not going to work. Can't do that with my knee yet.
I will say this: we have a phenomenal picture of Erica doing leg extensions on the website. So we were at least able to work the knee, but then she was open enough to say, like, you know what? This is not really working for me right now because the knee is acting up. Let me go do some upper body. Let me do the
Mhm.
treadmill. Prior to like everything we've done together, what would you have done if your knee hurt?
Probably would have done some stretching, honestly, at that point, or I probably just would have went and sat down and just watched.
This is why I'm sharing everything, gang, because I don't think all of you understand how, when we take the timelines off of things and we really just commit to not just trusting the process, but in loving the process and incorporating it, it takes time. And not everyone gets it at a 3 month mark, a 6 month mark, an 18-month mark. Some people have to keep going for 3 years and are still going. And I think the coolest part of this recording right here is we are capturing another kind of monumental shift and moment in your life as you're getting ready to get another knee replacement because you
Yep.
understand that's important. You're getting ready to travel not just across the country, but across the world in an airplane, which you had not done. We're getting ready to get our personal trainer's certificate because she has realized how important fitness is, but also she is one of our amazing counselors. Like, this is why these things are so tough. I somehow forgot to mention she is one of our counselors for summer camp. Why did you want to be a counselor in summer camp? Or why'd you say yes when I asked?
Well, I mean, it was more of a, yeah, this needs to happen because I can help support these folks and I wanted to help. I knew what it was like coming in there and kind of feeling kind of, we'd always have our inside jokes with the original OGs, but we would, also try to reach out to the newer people that would come in and try to make them feel like they're still part of the group and try to do that. And some people just, won't come out of their shell unless you work with them one on one sometimes.
It's been really cool to watch our counselors kind of take over with everything and really develop. And everyone's really just doing such a great job of trying to keep that energy up, make sure that it is actionable. But it is tough at the beginning. Like, I think everyone, as me being a high school teacher during the day, I know how hard it is to see the new kid come in. And I'm like, guys, why don't we all just vibe and talk about some things and then
Mhm.
kind of let it go from there? And that's been really cool to see with this. So, Erica, I know we're getting close to the end of the time. Have you listened to any of the episodes of the podcast?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I listen to your podcast almost, I try to listen to it almost every Friday. It's one of the things I dial up on Fridays while I'm at work because my Friday day at work is usually pretty light day. So I'm able to easily plug into the podcast. I'll listen to our Thrive in the Hive stuff, and just kind of go through, the different things and stuff because it's an easier day that I can actually focus on listening as well as doing what I need to do.
If people don't know what Thrive in the Hive is, can you kind of explain how we do things? Because I've gotten too busy to like walk through everything in the group chat.
Yeah. Thrive in the Hive is the resource center that you guys have created for all of us bees, all the busy bees. It's got like all the different lessons that you started with when I first started. It feels like most of those are in there. And some of them have been redone. Some of them, which is good because if I remember some of the original ones, I'm like, oh, that'd be a little cringy.
This background was not what it used to look like, and there
Yeah.
are still somewhere it's like I'll get an original, an OGB that says like we need to like edit this one.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just a lot of good resources, a lot of good information. It can be overwhelming to somebody that isn't for sure what to start, but in reality, I would just tell them to literally start on lesson 1 and just kind of start working through it, little by little, and dedicate some time, or if you just need to be able to have do something else while you're listening, you can do that too.
And I think that's just such a perfect way to look at everything. So
Yeah.
as we get started, we're going to go
Mhm.
through the lightning round and see how well we do.
Okay.
We're going to get busy, okay?
Okay.
You're also like the first person's like, yes, of course I know what that is, and you know what this part of the section is. So it's fun. We're gonna build momentum. By the time this episode airs, which I think will be like June of next year, we're going to have it. But real quick, while everyone's going, I'm going to tell you that this is exactly airing. The date will be December 11th. So this is December when everyone is hearing this, which is awesome. So, what's the biggest habit that you have built in Busy Bariatrics?
Consistently being able to make sure I'm hitting my nutrition, my water goals, and in reality, being able to pivot. I really think probably the pivoting is probably the biggest habit I've been able to truly do. And pivot, may not always do it well, but I at least know how to pivot. And if I'm not sure if I'm going to do it well, obviously I reach out.
I think that's the perfect way to go. And if anyone's listening, it's the idea of like, look, if you don't know how to do it, just like ask. And I think that's always like, I respect that of people of, look, I tried to get this done. I can't get it. And the cool thing about how we kind of operate is if you don't know how to answer it, you tell the other person this is how you answer it. And it makes everything perfect. So, with that, the U is understanding nutrition. Best thing you have learned about your nutrition on your bariatric journey here.
Protein is king, truly king, but fiber is right there up there as queen. If you don't have fiber, you're going to have other problems.
I will not have Erica go into share, but
Yeah.
let's just say Erica and I know each other very well. And if you ever wanted to know like what it's like working with me as a coach, be like, we talk a lot
Hmm.
about all the other parts of your life that you should be checking as biomarkers. And if you can read between the lines, I'm not going to tell you I get into it physically, but I do track the data that Erica gives me. With that in mind, we're going to move on so that we compartmentalize and push forward and really get to your favorite way to stay active.
Honestly, it's getting in the gym and lifting heavy shit.
It's phenomenal because I remember when you started and that would not have been your answer. And now that you are lifting in the gym, doing heavy shit, it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
What is the why for?
Oh God. It's believing in yourself, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
showing
Believing
up
in
for yourself
yourself.
or believing in yourself.
Yeah. Really learning to, love yourself at all parts of the journey. That's the biggest thing that, I've learned is where I was, I probably wouldn't change anything because it's brought me to who I am now. And it's, made me a good community member of the Hive as well.
I would agree with that. And of course, one of our original clients, Shannon Deans, is like, you should add an exclamation point at the end of it for a
Mhm.
healthy source of dopamine. And what's your favorite healthy source of dopamine these days?
These days, it's probably getting out into my garden and playing in the dirt.
It's such a fun way to go. What? Okay, now I kind of have to ask, favorite thing in your garden right now?
My flowers versus my tomatoes, they literally are fighting over each other.
Let the tomatoes win. As a
Well,
Jersey person,
yeah, they're gonna win. It's just the flowers are just trying to sprout taller than the tomatoes.
no. Look at that. Vegetables are slowly creeping more and more into your life. That's like so poetic on so many levels.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, gang. If you're hearing this, Erica, what is one last message you'd like to give to anyone who's listening and says, like, this might be the program for me?
Definitely give it a shot. Talk to people if you're not sure. But the other thing is remember to love yourself. And if you love yourself enough and this program is right for you, you'll fit right in and you'll make it work for yourself.
I love that as a final way to go. Gang, as we finish out, if this episode hit home, it's time to stop comparing timelines and start showing up on your own. Screenshot this, tag me and Erica, and share one blind spot you're ready to fix, or one step you're ready to take, or one long distance plan you are willing to work on, even if it's messy. Because the journey doesn't end with surgery, it doesn't end with a milestone. It ends when you decide to stop growing. And Erica, she's just getting started. So keep
Hmm.
getting busy, gang.